Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Johnny, and today I want to talk about a practice which I've been engaging in, which has been really helpful, particularly when it comes to emotion work. And it's quite simple, but it's something that is easily overlooked and that I've definitely overlooked a lot in my past. As when I would meditate, I would go to use some meditative technique, like rest, following the breath, or even techniques like, resting as awareness. And usually what happens is we sit down, we get in our position, we start to do the technique, we get drawn up to the mind and the thoughts, we get drawn into the head, and then we bring ourselves back to the technique. And what's been interesting is like, why do I always get drawn back up to the head? Our intention is to stay present with the breath or with awareness or with the inquiry question. But we keep getting brought up to the mind and the world of thoughts and stuff. And it's because what causes us to retreat up to the head is suffering. There's some discomfort that arises, and as it's habituated in us, when there is discomfort, it is to retreat up into the head, up into thoughts. And then once we're in thoughts, there tends to, we start thinking, and then there's the energy, because it's being ignored, builds up. And then there's thoughts like, I don't want to meditate anymore. Oh, when's the timer going to go off? Like, this is boring. These thoughts are just alarm bells that there is something uncomfortable in your present body, in your body. There's something uncomfortable you are not wanting to experience right now. And usually we go back to the technique and keep doing the technique. But what I've noticed is doing this is I'm ignoring the emotion or the thing that is causing retreat up into the mind. With the technique, the retreating to the head, it's all ignoring why you're retreating up to the brain. Because when you have a good meditation, there's a good feeling, there's no reason to run. And it's funny, is these uncomfortable feelings, how far they can take you into this is what arises whenever we engage in a bad habit, or we make a decision we don't want to make, is because it is out of not wanting to look at a discomfort that is arising. That's why when we do something negative, like a bad habit, like maybe it's drinking or smoking or spending money we don't need to, and we go, oh, why'd I do that? Like, it never helps me out. It's because we're in a mode of running from some discomfort. And even sometimes a technique can be a form of running. But understanding this for me has been profound, because the intention when sitting down to meditate now is to where's the uncomfortable, is I'm looking for the uncomfortable feeling. I sit down, rest in presence, or I do inquiry or some somatic inquiry sometimes. But if I'm noticing, I'm going up to the head, it's like, okay, what's this feeling? And looking for it. Okay, there's a discomfort in my chest, or there's anxiety in my belly, or whatever it is, and we find it and we just be with it. And we don't try not to let it take us into the head, try not to think too much about it. But sometimes just being with it and accepting it there. It's something that it's like this discomfort, we don't want to look at. And this can be intense. Like, I've I've had feelings that have felt like, oh, this feels like a little bit of dissatisfaction, and then you go into it and there's a lot to unpack there from that feeling. But so make sure you know how to ground yourself. If when intense emotions do arise, make sure you have some form of method, like breath, or some people it's going for a run or a walk, or there's things like tapping, whatever brings you back present, because it can be intense sometimes. But overall, I guess what I'm trying to say is when a great time when we're meditating is to really go into what we don't want to feel, the uncomfortable feelings, instead of trying to focus on a technique and find peace. It's like, okay, what's blocking that? Because it's just something that needs to be heard, something that needs to be felt and processed and released. But through the it's a bit of a mindset shift as well. We're not meditating for peace. It's like going in openly. I'm ready to feel whatever needs to be felt. Sit with the body. What needs to be felt? What needs to be processed? And being with that, because there's stuff there that's been gnawing you your whole life. And we go into the head, and then once we're in the brain, we start thinking, and the next thing you know, we're acting out patterns we don't want to be acting out. And we're just unconscious. And it's because we're just avoiding feeling something. And you'll find it can be intense, but once it calms down, you're like, oh, that was it? Just had to be felt and processed, and then you feel really light. Or it's great to do this when you have been triggered or there's an intensity coming up, is just be with it. With an energy, not trying to put it at arm's length, but just being with it fully, embracing it, letting it just fully going into it, feeling the emotion. But not identifying it, becoming one with it, but not identifying with it, just seeing it as an energy passing through the body that needs presence and not to be resisted, and not to reject the feeling. Because sometimes we could be feeling rejected, and then we're rejecting that feeling, feeling rejected, which adds just more fuel to the fire of that feeling. If it's there, it's got to be processed, and meditating with the intention to feel whatever discomfort is within you and embracing it fully is, I think, you don't have to do it every day because it can be intense, but these things need to be felt, and one way or another that you can't get around them. And it can be intense or something's nice, but once it's so much easier to go through than avoid, because avoidance just leads to a whole world of issues. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one.